Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabe. I welcome you to Environmental Issues. What is pollution? Pollution is the contamination of an ecosystem by factors that are harmful for the equilibrium of its biotic or abiotic constituents. Is population always caused by humans? In most cases, pollution is caused by human activity. Other species and some abiotic factors, however, can also pollute an ecosystem. For example, the red tide is created by proliferation of some algae, and volcanic dust is the consequence of the internal activity of the planet. Why is waste considered one of the major environmental issues? Environmental problems concerning waste worsens with industrial development and global growth of consumption society in the 20th and the 21st centuries. Factors that cause immense volume of residues produced by mankind in the last decades. The increased waste generation raises the issue about what to do with wastes, since nature is not able to degrade and resorb with adequate speed and efficiency most of the residues. Therefore, the various kinds of waste accumulate, polluting the environment and creating dangers to humans and nature. The present destination of waste has been public waste depositories, where the waste volume is compressed and buried underground. An environmentally risk method. Another method is incineration, with the grave consequence of causing air pollution. What are the main types of wastes? Waste can be classified into many types, each of them carrying its own different environmental problem. Organic wastes, recyclable wastes, non-recyclable wastes, toxic wastes, nuclear toxic wastes, space wastes. The organic waste is more easily resolved by nature, but the speed and the geographical concentration of its production due to urbanization generates pollution of rivers, lakes, proliferation of disease vectors, and environmental degradation of towns. The recyclable waste is composed of residues that can be reprocessed, used again by humans, like plastics and metals. The problem regarding recyclable waste is that the separation of such materials is not culturally diffused, and there is not enough social organization to use them. So recyclable waste is mixed to other wastes, increasing the volume of waste depositories even more. The non-recyclable waste is formed from residues that technology cannot yet recycle, like ceramic, photographic papers, millers, cigarettes, plasticized papers, and many others. This kind of waste, in the future, they may be recyclable wastes and should be separated. The toxic waste include the industrial chemical residues that are harmful for life and the environment, like contaminated medical wastes, and the domestic waste containing insecticides and medicine. The toxic waste is one of the major environmental problems since it puts the life of humans and other living beings in danger. The nuclear toxic waste is made of material that release invisible dangerous radiations for many years. Nuclear toxic waste is produced from the extraction of nuclear minerals like uranium by nuclear reactors, nuclear plants, hospitals, where nuclear medicine is performed, in research centers. Although nuclear waste is often put into armored receptacles, the risk of accident is permanent. Space wastes, these are waste produced by activity of a human in space. From the second half of the 21st century, it is consists of non-operating satellites, rocket pieces, and other equipment that remain orbiting the Earth and other terrestrial bodies, and even traveling across space. Environmental issues, organic waste, recyclable waste, and non-recyclable waste, toxic waste, nuclear toxic waste. What is selective waste collection? Recyclable wastes is the waste that can be reprocessed and used again. Waste recycling depends on the separation of the recyclable residues from non-recyclable ones, and on the classification of the recyclable into plastic, metals, papers, and many others. The function of selective waste collection is to simplify the separation of waste to be assorted at a point of origin. Selective collection also helps the creation of environmental conscience in the people that produce the waste. What is the cost-benefit relationship regarding sewage waste treatment as a strategy to fight water pollution? To treat sewage is much cheaper for society. Non-treated sewage pollute rivers, lakes, and seas, being the cause of diseases transmitted through water. For the society, the cost of these diseases is much higher than the cost of sewage treatment. One of the most common systems to treat sewage is aerobic treatment system. Reservoirs kept very oxygenated for aerobic bacteria to decompose organic material. What is eutrophication? Eutrophication is the process of excessive increasing of nutrients like phosphates and nitrates in water due to direct deposition or deposit of non-treated sewage. Nutrients act as fertilizers, leading to abnormal proliferation of aquatic algae. With exaggerated growth of algae population, the number of aerobic bacteria that causes decomposition of organic material also increases. Proliferation of these bacteria depletes the dissolved oxygen, killing fish and other animals. Besides, the lack of oxygen causes the decomposition to be assumed by anaerobic bacteria. Anaerobes multiply and release hydrogen sulfide that makes the water improper to other living beings and create putrid smell. What is a biodigester? A biodigester is equipment that produces carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and fuel or gas, or what we call biogases, like methane from organic material under decomposition, that is dung, food waste, sugar cane waste, and many others. The biogas is used in heating, as energy for motors and machines. It is even has industrial uses. Biodigesters are widely used in public waste depositories and in rural areas. Besides producing biogas, and organic waste can be turned into good quality fertilizers. What are the environmental harm caused by mercury pollution? What are the main sources of the mercury pollution? Mercury is a metal that when present in the water of rivers, lakes, sea, it contaminates the fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and other living beings. The mercury accumulates along the food chain, and each of the following trophic level and the amount of the metal within the individual is high. When humans eat contaminated animals, they become contaminated and severe nervous system injuries may emerge. The main source of mercury pollution are gold mining and use of delivered substances in industry and agriculture. Beside mercury, which other heavy metal causes toxic pollution? Examples of other heavy metal that causes toxic pollution are lead, cadmium, chromium. What are persistent organic pollutant, POPs? Persistent organic pollutants are toxic substances formed from organic compounds. POPs are made in several industry processes like production of PVC, paper whitened by chlorine, herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides, and also in the incineration of wastes. Examples of POPs are dioxins, furans, chlorines, DDT, triodrines, heptachlorides, hexaphene, hexachlorobenzene, and many others. POPs are toxic and highly harmful since, like heavy metals, they are bioaccumulative. That is, they are not degraded by the body and accumulate even more in each of the following trophic levels of the food chains. In humans, POPs can cause cancers, nervous, immune, and reproductive impairments. Is the upward move of warm air good or bad for the deposition of pollutants? The upward movement of warm air is a natural method of dispersion of pollutants. The air near the ground is hotter because the sun heats the soil and the soil heats the air nearby. Since it is less dense, warm air tends to move towards higher and cooler strata of the atmosphere. Such movement helps dispersion of the pollutants. Does thermal inversion occur in the winter or in the summer? Pollutants, lower altitude thermal inversion occurs in winter. This period of the year, the sun heats the soil less. A natural upward movement of warm air decreases. Therefore, pollutants form a lower altitude layer between the cold air layer near the ground and another layer of warm air above. The pollutant layer over industrial areas and big urban concentration reduces the penetration of sunlight energy, and the air below takes even longer time to warm. Why does thermal inversion increases air pollution? What harm can thermal inversion cause to humans? Thermal inversion confines at low altitude a layer of pollutants that would have been dispersed by the natural upward movement of warm air. The solid particles present in the atmosphere cause health problems like exacerbation of asthma, other pulmonary diseases, coughs, respiratory unease, ocular discharges. Later, the pollution can also trigger the appearance of cardiovascular and neoplastic diseases. What is the role of the ozone layer for living beings? Ozone is a gas of the atmosphere that filters ultraviolet radiation from the sun, disallowing most of that radiation from reaching the surface of the planet. Ultraviolet radiation is harmful for living beings because it is a mutagen and can cause cancer, mainly the skin cancer. Other DNA mutations, even burns. What are the main chemical components that destroy the ozone layer? The main chemical components that destroy the ozone layer are the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, the freons, substances used in the past refrigerators, air conditioners, and spray cans. Chlorofluorocarbons react with ozone in high atmosphere, releasing molecular oxygen, and therefore the amount of ozone in the atmosphere is reduced. Other substances that destroy the ozone layer is methyl bromide, used in agricultural insecticides. What is nuclear pollution? Nuclear pollution consists of radiation emitted from atomic nuclei. These radiation are highly injurious to living beings. They can be originated from the extraction of radioactive minerals, nuclear plant reactors, nuclear research centers, hospitals, and medical centers that use radioisotopes. Nuclear bomb explosions or accidents with transportation, handling, or storage of nuclear material. Nuclear materials remain dangerous for many years, contaminating the environment with radiation that cause cancer, immune impairment, congenital deficiency, burns, and even death. The damage is proportional to the intensity of the exposition to the radiation. Its persistent future and high aggression power makes nuclear pollution one of the major environmental problems in our time. What is plutonium reprocessing? Why is it a big environmental issue? Plutonium is a highly radioactive chemical element produced from uranium by nuclear plants. Plutonium can be reprocessed to be used again in nuclear plants or in other destinations like making of nuclear bombs. Plutonium reprocessing nowadays, however, is done only in some countries like France, Russia, and Britain. The countries that have nuclear plants like Japan, Australia, and others send their atomic waste by ship and those plutonium reprocessing centers, to those plutonium reprocessing centers. Beside the inherent risk of the storage nuclear waste, plutonium reprocessing brings the risk of the transport of the radioactive material across the ocean. The nuclear ships often travel near the coasts of many countries, posing danger to their populations. What is transgenic food? Transgenic beings are animals, microorganisms, and plants that contain recombinant DNA. For example, genes of other plants, microorganisms, or animals artificially inserted into their genetic material. Transgenic beings are made for scientific and economic purposes. In this last case, with the intention of improving their commercial futures. For example, bacteria that produce human insulin are transgenic beings made by biotechnology. The main target of the transgenic technology are edible vegetables like soya, corn, potato, and tomatoes. Why are transgenic considered a threat to environmental safety? Transgenic can be dangerous to the entire biosphere, since the transfer of genes between species may have immediate and long-term unpredictable consequences. The creation of new species by nature is a slow process dependent on the causal mutation and natural selection, a relatively safe process for the ecological equilibrium. It is impossible to know how fast an artificial introduction of transgenic beings in nature affects the ecosystem. Pathogenic agents may involuntarily created in laboratories, spreading unknown diseases. Transgenic species may uncontrollably proliferate, destroying ecological interactions that have taken thousands of years to be established. The ingestion of transgenic food also has unpredictable effects. What is biological control? Biological control is a natural method to control the size of animals, microorganisms, or plant populations. Biological control is based on the knowledge of inharmonious, that is negative ecological interaction between species. Using such knowledge, a parasite, a competitor, or a predator species is introduced in an ecosystem in order to attain reduction of the population of another species with which it has inharmonious ecological interaction. Biological control presents the advantage of substituting the use of pesticide and other toxic chemical products in control of plague and diseases. It, however, should be employed with caution and a serious previous study to avoid harmful ecological disequilibrium. A kind of biological control of some species can be done by introduction of previously sterilized males that do not generate offspring. What is bioremediation? Bioremediation is the use of microorganisms like bacteria, protists, and fungi to degrade noxious substances, turning them into non-toxic or less toxic substances. Bioremediation employs microorganisms whose metabolism uses contaminants as reagents. Bioremediation is used, for example, in the decontamination of the environments polluted by oil spills. In this process, bacteria that use hydrocarbons as substrate for their cellular respiration are employed. What is global warming? Global warming is the increase in the temperature of the planet due to accumulation of some gases in that atmosphere, especially gases that retain solar energy reflected by the planet's surface. The main gas that causes global warming is carbon dioxide, but other gases act as warming gases too, like methane and nitrous oxides. The exaggerated increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has been caused by burning of fossil fuel, mainly oils and coal, in industrial and urban society, and by forest fires. It is important to note that the natural warming provided by gases of the atmosphere is fundamental for the maintenance of the planet's temperature. Predictions of studies sponsored by the United Nations stated that global warming may cause life-threatening transformations to the planet in the near future. Countries that are the biggest emitters of carbon dioxide, like the United States and China, however, systematically ignore warnings and continue to largely contribute the danger. Global warming is one of the most polemic environmental issues today. Thank you very much for participating in environmental issues. Please do like, share, and subscribe.